Hello, hello, hello. This is Computerizer, and welcome to a new series I'm going to do on writing clean code. Um, I I am a software engineer, and I have spent probably 15 years now trying to read other people's bad code, and I'm frankly getting tired of it, and I would like to spread some knowledge on how to write code that is easy to read. And you might think, well, I'm the only one that's ever going to read my code. I can tell you from experience that you, first of all, will encounter your own code in the future um, and not have any idea what it's doing. And you never know what you're going to do with your code, and you might show it to other people. For me personally, I spend time working on large teams on projects that have been around for decades, and the code can be pretty scary to look at. I'm going to be using Java in my to start off with, at least here in my videos, because that's what I'm familiar with recently. I also have C++ experience, so I can go into that as well at a later time. But we'll start off with Java for now. I'm using IntelliJ IDEA from JetBrains. This is my favorite IDE for Java. This is the community edition. I don't think there's anything we need from the paid version for this series. So I have opened a project. This is a project. Yeah, it's a LGPL project called JSch. It is from JCraft, and it is a SSH SFTP library written entirely in Java. So the reason I'm starting with this is because I encountered it recently and discovered that it has some pretty terribly written code inside of it. So I wanted to demonstrate how bad this code is and maybe try to improve it a little bit. So I'm going to just start by looking at, let's see, I think session. So to start off with, so I'm not sure what my warning settings are in IntelliJ. I can bring that up here. Under, is that editor? I don't remember. Anyway, I also have a plugin called SonarLint installed. SonarLint is from the SonarCube project. I don't have a SonarCube server hooked up to this, but it uses the default settings for SonarCube if you don't have a server set up. And this does, it's called static code analysis, which analyzes the code for common mistakes and gives suggestions for how to fix them. So in this particular file, this one source file of this project, which says that, first of all, it says it's 2,057 lines long, and 750 is the maximum by the default settings. And then it has found 601 warnings, or has generated 601 warnings and some typos and things as well. And as you can see, this bar is yellow all the way down, except for a gap here where there's apparently some decent code. Now, SonarCube, SonarLint, and the warnings and stuff aren't the only necessary thing to make readable code. If you fix all of the errors that it comes up with, all the warnings that it comes up with, your code is going to be somewhat more readable, but it's going to have less bugs, but it's still going to be pretty bad to read unless you really know what you're doing. So to start off with, the first thing I notice when I look at this file is that, let's see, this is saying those could be private. So all of these are only used in this file, so they could be private. There's not too much bad with this, although whatever. An enum seems like a be better choice for these things. The next thing I notice is that these fields here, v underscore s, v underscore c, etc. Their names don't tell you what they are. Instead, there's a comment over here at some random indentation that says what the variable is. Well, if you need a comment to describe what your variable does, maybe you should just rename your variable to what your comment is. So if I click on this and I hit the keyboard shortcut is Shift F6 by default, or you can right click and choose refactor, and then this is probably cut off on your screen, but rename is at the top. But I'm just going to hit Shift F6, which is rename, and then I can give it a name, a new name. I'm going to say server version and hit enter. And now the refactoring view down here gives me some suggestions for renaming because it found some. If it's trivial for it to rename it, then it will do it right away. In this case, it seems like it might have some confusion about it. So I'm going to double click on that and see what it's doing. Okay, that's fine to rename that. That's the same thing. And that's the same line. It's printing it out here. That's fine. Yeah, these are all fine. It's actually only used 5 times. It's also wondering about these because these are in comments, which is another no-no, that you should not have commented out code. I'm going to go ahead and hit, let's see, are these included? Yeah. If they're excluded, you can use your keyboard actually to navigate this view. If you hit delete, it will exclude a rename on that particular line, and I think insert adds it back. So I'll go ahead and rename all that field everywhere it's used, just like that. Let me go back to the top here, and now we'll see that that now says server version, and now this comment is redundant because we know it's the server version. And whenever we see it in use in the code, let's see if we can find an example here. I clicked on it, so it'll be highlighted. Here we go. Now we know it's the server version. We don't know what s underscore s is. Obviously, there are other problems here. Now, the next one is v underscore c, which is the client version. So let's get rid of that comment. Put the cursor on v underscore c, Shift F6, type client version, just like that, and it's done. Easy to read. You know exactly what it is, and yeah. Now, I'm curious. Well, never mind. So I'm gonna stick with that for now. Seems like a strange way to do string to byte. By the way, to go to these things, I'm holding down Control and clicking on their names. Okay, this is doing what I thought it was doing. That's okay. So what do we have here? I underscore C, the payload of the client's SSH message kex in it. So this is a key exchange message. So Now, there's another thing that's going on here is we may not need these all to be class level variables, but so this is client key exchange payload, right? Now we know what it is. Now this is a pretty long name, but it's not too bad. The important thing is that it's readable, that you know exactly what it is. This is the server key exchange payload. Done. This apparently is the host key. That's right, K_S is the host key. That's totally obvious. How about host key? There we go. Now, it's actually never even used. We'll take care of that later. Right now I'm going to deal with this. This is not standard Java practice to use underscores in names, and that's why you're seeing this. This is a SonarQube warning from Squid, I believe. Squid is one of the tools that SonarQube uses. And it says that it should match that expression, which means it shouldn't have underscores in it. Oops. You got to make sure you use the Shift F6 when you rename, otherwise you'll just change that one line. So, oops, I'm going to do session ID like that. Hold on, I messed up. Shift F6, the underscore got inside of it somehow. Cancel. Okay, I'm hitting escape, there we go. Put that back. Be very careful. Shift F6, move my cursor. ID, session ID. Okay, now it's asking if I want to change it there and there, and it has found it in these places as well, which sound good to me. I'll do that. Now, these things don't even have comments. If you didn't know what you were looking at, which you may not, you would have no idea what these are. I know what a couple of them are, but I don't know what all of them are. Also, these ones, I'm not entirely sure. I guess that's an interesting name for a variable. So I happen to know that this is the client to server initialization vector for the encryption. And then this is the MAC, which is the message authentication code, I think, for client to server, and then the server to client one for the same things. And then there is E, which maybe is the encrypted equals hash.digest. Yeah, I actually don't know exactly what that is. Cipher. Is it the cipher? No. E. Well, it has something to do with encryption. So since I haven't figured those out yet, I'm going to skip over them. These looks like sequence numbers, sequence in and sequence out is my guess. I'm going to then therefore rename it to in sequence number and out sequence number. Okay, oops, I spelled sequence wrong on that one. Just do Shift F6 again and fix it. Oops, not like that. Shift F6, sequence number, out sequence number. This is the server to client cipher and the client to server cipher, and then the max. I feel like there might be a better way to keep these things, rather than having all of these things here, I feel like I should have a class that has the initialization vector, the E, whatever that is, the Mac stuff. There's another Mac here, and these ciphers. And have in the session class, I would just have client to server and server to client, and then I could say server to client dot get cipher. It would return this, for example. So what you can do is create a new class, add those members to it, add getters and setters, and then replace them with that. Now that's going to be a bit challenging here because these are probably used all over the place. If I go to find usages, oh, actually that one's not too bad. It's only used in one place. That one's used, yeah, one's used in a few places because you'll have to manually replace where these are used. That's the challenge. What I'm wondering is, so this is the actual Mac, and this is, maybe it's the last Mac that was sent. Yeah, it's used to initialize the Mac. So I'm not sure if it needs to be used. Yeah, because it's used here. Or it's not used there. Okay, so we expand. See, the code is not readable. That's why I can't figure out what it does, and that's why I am inclined to solve this problem. To take the fact that I have to take the effort to figure out what this code does in order to make it readable is really unfortunate because it could have been written readable in the first place. So if I go back, okay, there we go. I'm going to add a new class. Also, all these classes are in the same package, which makes it really difficult. I'm going to create a new package, first of all, called session. And in that package, I'm going to create a new class. And this is going to be for these things. So I'm going to call it encryption. Let's see, what would be a good name? It's going to be having a cipher, the Mac, etc. In fact, I might even pull some methods into it that do some of those encryption things. I'll just call it encryption for now. And we can rename it later. That's the thing is, the IDE makes it really easy to rename. If I want to rename this class, I hit Shift F6, and I type a new name, and it will rename it everywhere it's used. It's very simple. So don't be afraid to, throw out a name for now and come up with a new one later, a better one later. So in my class here, I know that I want these think I want these payloads. I know that I want all of these things. So we have an IVE, whatever that is, Mac, and then we have the actual ciphers and Macs. And then there's also some possible compression going on. And then since here's some more confusion, because these all start with S to C or C to S, tell you what direction they're going. And then here they have inflator and deflator. Well, what you can't derive from that is that the deflator is server to client and the inflator is client to server. But you can't figure that out by looking at this. So why don't we put it in something that tells us what it is? So cipher, Mac, and compression. So we're going to have a private, always private, cipher, cipher, Mac, Mac, and compression, private, compression, compression. Now we need getters and setters for all of these because they change often. So what we do is we hit Control Insert, no, Alt Insert, getter and setter. We select all three of those, and now we have getters and setters for them. Now in here, instead of those things, right here I'm going to put, or somewhere, I'm going to put private encryption. I'm going to stick with our naming convention for now, server to client, and possibly change that later. It's a very well-known naming convention in networking stuff, so it's probably okay to use that name. Now what I want to do is everywhere that this is used, I want to put it in there. So what I could actually do is do a find and replace. So if we go to find, replace, or Control R, we want to look for this, and we want to replace it with S2C and either get cipher or set cipher. And we don't know which, depends on the case. So if we look at this, they're almost all gets. So what I'm going to do is change them all to get cipher, and then I'm going to go fix this one, which is where it actually gets set. So get cipher, replace all. And of course we can delete this here. And then there will be some errors. So obviously this doesn't work. Oh, that's okay. So that was a replacement that didn't need to get done. And that caused some problems here. So let me just, this will need to get renamed later. But for now, let's fix that. Okay, here's another one. Oops. Mouse jumped. Right here. I'm wondering. Yeah, I should have told it to match whole word only or something when I did that. I'm actually wondering if these actually should be in the. Are those final? No. In that other class that we made. Okay, so those were all changed, and then here is where we need to do get cipher, or set cipher, I mean. Like that. Okay. Here's that thing again. Okay, there's some weird indentation going on. Alright. So, okay, I've got a couple more errors. There were already some errors in here, so I just wanted to... Yeah, it doesn't like us calling that. I just want to make sure these aren't related to the... Oh, I see. So when I renamed host key with a capital K above, it now well, doesn't exactly conflict with this, but it can create some confusion. So what I'm wondering is, where does this get set? I wonder if they are related somehow. K_s. What's that? Get host key. Isn't that what that thing was called? So that's like the host key bytes. Let's see. All right, so let's rename what I previously renamed to host key. Oh, it says it's never used. Well, then let's delete it. And that should fix the error down below, down here. Yeah, okay. And there's still one more error, but it's about sleep. And it's kind of a suggestion. So we'll deal with that later. So back at the top here, we now have replaced the one cipher. Now let's do the other one, and this time we will do client to server get cipher and just whole words replace. So we'll do that one, that one, that one, that one. This one should be set c2s dot set cipher. What's going on here? Did I spell? Why is it? Oh. Okay, let's just keep going. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I set it to the wrong thing here. It's already defined. Oh yeah. Okay, get rid of that now. Wait for it to update. Okay. There. So now whenever we see this being used, we know a little bit more information about it, and it's contained within this other class. Okay. So now we can do the same thing for the Mac here, and for the deflator and inflator. And I'll go ahead and do that and get right back to you. Okay, I'm back, and I have completed moving the Mac and compression, the inflator and deflator as they were called, into these server to client and client to server classes, objects I mean. So, so now they are all wrapped in here, and when we use them, if we look here, we can see that it's always a little more clear about what you're using, and we have now less fields in this class, which is helpful. And in addition, now that these things are contained within here, we might add other methods in here. For example, the compression, which if we look here, and we look for the compression, like down here, set compression and so on, we might add some of these things like the init or whatever. We might wrap some of these calls in the encryption class itself instead of repeating the code over and over again in the session class here, and that will help to clean up the session class a little bit. So we have several less fields here now than we used to. We have renamed a number of these fields up here, which also may get moved out at some point. And we're starting to make some progress toward readability. Now this is a huge file, so we're a long ways off from making it pretty readable, but we have made some progress today, and I think we'll make more progress tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more.